Good morning, good morning. We are now live on Facebook and YouTube. I hope you're all keeping well and ready for another session of daily learning and lockdown inspiration. As you're logging on, please do comment in the chat, whether you're logging onto Facebook or you're logging onto YouTube, whichever one you choose. Feel free to comment. Great. I see people are logging on, people are commenting, so welcome aboard for another session of a lockdown inspiration. Okay, keep on commenting, guys. Keep on commenting, keep on posting. I see comments coming in on Facebook and on YouTube, greeting messages. If you're just logging on now, please do continue to share those messages, those greetings with us. We'd love to know you're with us. We'd love to engage personally with you. We'd love to welcome you. So let's hear from you. Right, let's welcome everyone. So let's do this. Whoever's greeted me, I'm going to greet you back. Just bear with me. Shirley Feldman, good morning. Anne Hack, David Ginsburg, thank you. Robert Levy, Maureen, Norman Stain, Ruth Kaplan, I wish you long life and simchas only in the future. Helen Feinstein, Linda and Jaime Drew, thank you for being on Facebook with us. Shelley Smith, Lionel Rubin. Wonderful. Good to see you all here. And I know some people are going to watch this later on in the afternoon. That has been the feedback, that people are very happy to be able to watch the screenings later on, which is exactly the purpose of YouTube and Facebook, to be able to log on and watch it later. So that's good. So if you're going to watch this later, feel free to comment as you watch it. We'd love to hear your feedback, even if it's later in the afternoon or some other day. But those of you who are live with us, obviously this is the focus right now. It's a live class. Avril Walpert's logging on. I see our numbers are climbing on Facebook. So welcome to one and all for being here this morning for another session. It's a wonderful day. It's the beginning of a week. Working week, that is, for those who are going to work. And we're going to talk about something very, very powerful, very, very relevant. Hopefully I can engage with you, our viewers and listeners. I'm just going to give this one more minute as people log on, and then we're going to get going. So just bear with us for one more moment. Great. Okay. Welcome to one and all. If you're just logging on to Facebook or YouTube, welcome aboard. Please comment, please share. Ronnie Kotkis, welcome. Good morning on YouTube. Those of you on Facebook, I want you to like this video. Press like. Come on, guys. Press the like video and then share it so other people can actually see what you're up to and hopefully choose to join you as well. Today, we're going to focus on the question, who inspired me? Not me, but it's a question that we could all ask ourselves. Who inspired me? Imagine your kids were sitting around the table with you or on the couches with you. And if you don't have kids yet, imagine your kids will ask you in the future. And they'll ask you the question, who inspired you? Right? What motivated you? Who was your role model? Or what did your role model do that inspired you? Imagine that was a question that came your way. What would you answer? What would you say? So I'm going to ask you that question this morning. Ronnie Kotkus, good morning. I'm going to ask you that question this morning. I want you to engage with me and with our viewers. Who was your role model as you were growing up, or even in your adult life? Who motivated you? Who inspired you to be who you are, to be a father, to be a mother in your work field? Good morning, Janice Leibovitz. Thank you for joining. That's the question for today. I see others have logged on. Sorry, guys, a bit slow here. Good morning, Hilly Lipworth, Mark Wachenheimer, Aline Udelovitz, Arnold Orkin, Tracy Mindel, Shalom Trieger, Marlene Scher. Wonderful, wonderful. Good to see you all. Keep the comments coming in. Keep the comments coming in. So just to repeat the question, I'm talking about inspiration and motivation. I'm talking about role models. And I want to know from you, Ian Clemenson, good morning. Who was your role model? Who mentored you? Who guided you? Who inspired you? Who motivated you to be who you are today? To be a parent, a grandparent in your professional field? I'd love to hear. Give me some examples of people that motivated you or things that they did to motivate you. We're over 35 students here to this morning between Facebook and YouTube. So it's wonderful to have you all online with us. I really would love you to share. I mean, obviously your parents, mother, father, but give some examples of things that they did to motivate you, to inspire you, to uplift you. I'd love to hear from you as we go along. Feel free to share. We're just waiting around to see if any comments start coming through. Otherwise, I'm going to get going. But I would love to hear your comments. We'd love to see your comments. We'd love to interact with your comments. So don't be lazy. Let's share together. Who motivated you? What motivated you? Who inspired you? Who mentored you? Who guided you? Who uplifted you? Let's share. Let's share. Like there were certain characters in my life that I believe molded me who I am today. Obviously, my parents played an important role. My mother and my father, God bless them, they played an unbelievable, vital, critical role in my life. But in addition to parents, there's always other people that play a role. You know, you sort of end up in your industry because of certain people that motivate you or inspire you. Vega, good morning. Ian Clemenson, thank you for sharing on YouTube. I encourage others to share as well. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Keep on sharing. Good morning, Tracy. Oh, good. I'm seeing comments coming through now. Okay, hold on, guys. Let's slow down. Thank you. You guys are responding. Spot on. Spot on. So Ian Clemenson says, definitely parents and grandmother. Strong values. Right. So your grandmother. So in addition to parents, I'm not taking parents for granted. There are some people that don't have parents to mentor them or guide them. So I'm not taking parents for granted at all. So please do share the parents as well. But in Ian's case, his grandmother played an important role. Strong values. That's good. Thank you. Tracy Mindel posts, my father was always a positive person. He knew how to handle issues in the correct way. He believed in honesty and discretion and was never judged. Would never judge, I think. Good. That's great. Good morning, Raylene and Stan Braz. Thanks for joining us. I see Shirley Feldman post, definitely my mother. Many knew her and my grade 1 teacher. Look at that. Grade 1 teacher. So your mother was a role model and the grade 1 teacher. Mrs. Chamberlain. Great ladies they were both. Amazing. Thank you, Shirley. Carolyn Diamond, nice to have you back online with us. Refuah Shalem, you should feel healthy. Tracy Mindel, he believed in God and believed things happen for a reason. That's a good value. So you should thank your father for teaching you that message, Tracy. Helen Feinstein, my mother and father, blessed memory, were my role models. Great, amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Morning, Dennis Bessarabi. So we've got close to 40 students here, and I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Please do continue sharing. My question for those who are just logging on, my question was, who was your role model? And who motivated you or inspired you? And what did they do to do that? Who made you who you are today as a mother or father or grandparent, or maybe in your professional field? You know, what was it that inspired you or motivated you? I know for myself, my parents were amazing role models, but in addition to my parents, I had other people that played an important role. My father is not a rabbi, and I ended up in the rabbinate, I think, because certain people molded me, or certain people inspired me or motivated me. These were role models in our lives. And I think in your lives too, I'm sure you can look back and say, well, who made me a teacher? Or who made me a businessman? Or who made me an accountant? Or who inspired me to go into finance? Or who introduced me to my spouse? That's also part of mentoring and role modeling. So I'd love to hear. Keep the comments coming. We'd love to hear from you. With our listeners and viewers on YouTube and Facebook. Moira Dworkin, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We want to wish Moira Dworkin a very big mazel tov because your grandson's wedding is coming up. And the family is flying to California for the wedding. It's going to be a very small wedding, Moira, which I'm sure you're not going to be at. So let us know when the celebrations are, and we'll celebrate together with you. So we're talking about mentoring. Stephen Herr, good morning. Yes, we'll dedicate learning to your mother, Esther Bat Moshe. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Mentors. I'll tell you, for example, when I was a 13-year-old boy, I had a mentor who made a very big impression on my life. And he was an exchange student. He was a student who had come from America to Australia to study, a rabbinic student, a yeshiva student. And he spent a lot of time with my family at my home, learning with us, engaging with us. And I would say that part of my rabbinic career is thanks to him and thanks to his inspiration. And in fact, many of you met him. He is currently today the chief rabbi of Berlin, Rabbi Yehuda Tachtel, who was an exchange student in Melbourne with me. And that really molded me. That really inspired me. That he mentored me at a young age for a year or two, but that remained with me. And that was at the age of 13. Can you imagine what someone does at the age of 13? I mean, Shirley Feldman mentioned her grade 1 teacher, Mrs. Chamberlain. That's at grade 1 level. Can you imagine the effect that influence has on people, how mentoring and inspiration, what effect that has on us years and years down the line, that as adults, we still track back our inspiration and motivation back to that age and stage of our lives. It's quite phenomenal. So that's the topic I want to focus on today. If any of you want to continue sharing, I would love to hear, because it inspires me to hear what inspired you. So I'd love to hear from you. What motivated you? What inspired you? Who mentored you? Who guided you? And share some stories in the chat. I'd love to read it out and engage with you. So we'll continue talking, but if you have any ideas or memories, please share them with us. So how did I get onto this topic today? So my friends, my Facebookers and my YouTubers friends, I got onto this because the opening verse of this week's parasha talks about lighting up the lamp, lighting up the candle. You got to light the candle and cause it to ascend. That's the terminology the Torah uses. To cause the candle to ascend. It doesn't just say light it, but make it go up. Make it go up. And Rashi teaches us that means that when you light it, you should light it in such a way that the candle can go up without you. So there's two ways of lighting a candle. There's either lighting a candle where you stand there with a match and you continuously hold the match next to the candle, and the candle doesn't light very well, and you're holding the candle there and trying to keep it alight, but it's reliant and dependent on you. That's one type of lighting a candle. But it's not the type the Torah is talking about. When the Torah talks about lighting a candle, it means to light it to the point that it goes up on its own. Ashitahei shall heves oilo me'eleha, and the flame should elevate on its own. It shouldn't need you to stand there and continuously touch it and ignite it and light it. No. The way you light a candle is you light it and you can move away and the candle burns on its own. And that's the message of education. That's the message of mentoring. It doesn't help when you mentor someone and you stand by their side, continuously watching over what they're doing. That's not going to help. That's not going to mentor them. You're not going to create independence that way by showing them what to do and then standing over their shoulder. That's not going to work. But rather, the way we mentor someone is by lighting a candle and letting the light burn on its own. Yes, Brian Owen says that the environment and life experience does complement it all. It's true. The upbringing, your environment, your schooling, your parents, life experiences, it does complement it all. Just to take a pause for a moment, Arlene Udolovich would like me to announce that she thanks all those who have generously donated to the South African Harvest Collection. All parcels that are prepared and handed out, Friday to needy, underprivileged families in the townships. Parcels can be dropped off at 24 Coburg Crescent anytime before Friday lunchtime, and Arlene will make a point of distributing this to the underprivileged. Thank you for your continuous generous contribution. Shkoyach, Arlene, for your good work. Okay, so we're back to our discussion here. Here we go. Raylene Brask, thank you very much for sharing. Manfred Kalmer, good morning, Manfred. Good to see you here. Thanks, Raylene, for sharing. Listen to this. Rabbi Shmuel Rudy was a great inspiration for me. He was my afternoon Cheder teacher at Sidlam Shul during grade 10 and 11. By the way, Mrs. Chamberlain was also my grade 1 teacher. That was on behalf of Stan. So Mrs. Chamberlain was yours and Shirley Feldman, and obviously she was quite a dynamic woman. What I find interesting, Stan, is that there's many critics out there about the Cheder teachers of old. Many people say the Cheder teachers of old were old. The Cheder teachers of old were old and inexperienced teachers and unable to educate. And they were rough and they were mean and they were disciplinarians and they were totally detached from their student body. That's what I've heard. And yet, Stan Brask writes that Shmuel Rudy was one of the people that motivated you and inspired you. That's right. Stan Brask lived on my street on 5th Avenue in Highlands North and attended the Sidlam Cheder program between grades 10 and 11. And I am inspired to hear that Rabbi Rudy inspired you. Stan, that's the reality, man. Because so many times I hear people talking about their Cheder teachers, what a waste of time they were, and they couldn't teach, and they're too old, and they're too old-fashioned. And Stan says clearly on YouTube that Rabbi Shmuel Rudy was an inspiration to you. Good. That's amazing. So he's part of your mentors. And we're just learning now in the parasha this week that the way you inspire someone is to light the flame to such a point that their light is a light on their own. They're independent. Those are the people that inspired us. The people that we walk out of their classrooms, or we walk out of their interaction or their meeting, we walk out and we're inspired to act on our own, to be lit a light on our own. That is a sign of a true mentor. He was also the rabbi at the time of Orange Grove Shul. That's interesting. Yes, you're right. One of the first rabbis, maybe the first rabbi of Orange Grove Shul. My father-in-law, Rabbi Bigler, maybe is currently the rabbi, and I've heard of the name Rudy. So wow. That's fascinating. Okay, good stuff. Good history there. Thanks, Stan, for sharing. So who are the people that mentor us? Who are the people that have mentored us and guided us? And I think when it comes to mentoring, Boker Tov David Seif, when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to inspiring, when it comes to motivating us, when it comes to showing us what to do and what not to do, I would like to break society down into 3 categories. I would like to break down the category. I would like to break down the categories into the people into 3 categories. I'm busy now. I'm not sure. Sorry, there's a call coming through. 1 second. Okay, I'm back with you. So let's break down society into 3 categories. There's lots of people that want to tell us things. Lots of people. And the truth is that not everyone do we choose to be our mentors. So we could be at work, and many colleagues will have something to say to us. We could be at school, and many teachers will have something to say to us. So there's many influences in our lives, many people trying to light our candle, but not everyone becomes a mentor. And maybe we can break down society or people around us into 3 categories. Another inspiring teacher to Stan was a young Cheder teacher from Israel, Nuri Yaron. Amazing. Great. Stan, you got great memories of your youth. So good for you. So I would divide society into 3 categories. There are people that talk to us, try to influence us, but we don't pay much attention to them. We choose not to pay much attention to them. Why? Well, either their advice is useless and helpless, or we don't think they have our best interests at heart, or there's all sorts of reasons why there's so many people that chirp in our ears, and they chirp and they chirp and they chirp and they chirp and they tell us do this and do that and do that and do that, and it means nothing because we're not convinced. We're not convinced. So it could be a colleague, it could be a competitor, it could be an associate, it could be this, it could be that. This teacher and that teacher, and they left no impression on me. Why? Because psychologically we sort of have a blockage. It's nature, natural. Then there's people who tell us things and we listen, but selectively. In other words, their opinion is important to me, but I'm not going to tell them that. So what I'll do is I'll listen and then decide what to take, what not to take. So the first category of people are people who talk and influence, but I don't connect to. And if I don't connect to it, it's not going to help me. And so they talk and they talk, but it creates no influence on me. The second category of people are people that talk, and I want to know what they say, but I'm not necessarily going to follow them. So I'll listen with one ear, but then choose to do with the other. And the third category are our mentors. The third category are people who we are so connected to that whatever they say to us, whatever they tell us is like gold. Whatever they guide us, however they guide us, we want to follow. Maybe not entirely, but 95%. Those are the mentors. So you got those 3 categories. Category 1 are people that talk and talk and talk, and it means nothing to me because I can't, for whatever reason. The content is not good. Their character or the nature is not pleasant. Whatever it is, there's some people that talk around me and I don't want to listen. Then there's people that talk and I want to hear what they have to say, but I'm not necessarily going to follow what they're saying. And the third category are our mentors. And the mentors is someone I look up to. Someone inspires me, someone who motivates me, someone who guides me, and I want to listen to what they're saying and I want to implement as much as I can. Shelley Smith shares with us, Rabbi Bloch, 50 years ago in a small town I was brought up in Randfontein. Good. Wow, that's a nice answer. Thank you. Rabbi Bloch was an inspiration to you. So happy to hear that. It's amazing to see how people can have an effect on individuals. And that is a tool that the process of selection, knowing who you can connect to and who you can't connect to, or you should listen to or you shouldn't listen to, or who has wise words for you or doesn't have wise words for you. That's a tool which we learn as we're growing up into adults. And that tool, by the way, is across the board, whether it's to deal with parenting questions. As you bring up your kids, you got more and more dilemmas and more questions. So you have questions you want to ask. And maybe business issues. What to do and how to do, when to invest and not to invest, what to buy and what not to buy. Maybe religious issues. Should I do this? Should I do that? And it's tricky to find your mentor. Because as you start out, and when I say start out, it means any phase of life, any stage of life. As you start out, everyone's voices are noisy. They're noisy. There's noise around me. There's so many voices around me. So many opinions. How do I know what's for me? Who's my mentor? Who's my icon? Who's my role model? Whose words should I listen to? Whereas whose words shouldn't I listen to? That's not so easy. As kids, maybe we're more focused on everything and everyone. A classmate laughs at what I'm wearing, it hurts me. Someone's laughing at my cricket stroke as a batsman, it hurts me, offends me. Someone criticizes the way I speak as a rabbi or a shir that I give, maybe it bothers me. But it shouldn't, it can't. Because we can't possibly listen to everyone. We can't possibly internalize everyone's messages and act upon everyone. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Aseh lecha Rav. Appoint for yourself a Rav, a teacher, one teacher. You can't have multiple teachers. Multiple teachers is too noisy. And by the way, we have been taught that you can have multiple teachers, each one in a different area, or each one at a different stage of our lives. So multiple mentors mentoring me in different issues, or multiple mentors mentoring me at different phases or stages of my life. That's also possible. But to have all these voices around, it's difficult. It's too noisy. So I've got to be selective. I've got to choose for me, who's my doctor? Who's my rabbi? Who's my mentor? And that's going to be the mentor who's going to guide me. That's going to be the mentor who's going to make my candle light a flame on its own. Yeah, the other voices, I may process them and store them. I may choose to ignore them. I've got to have my one mentor. The one mentor who's going to help me and guide me. Aseh lecha Rav, who's going to light my flame and light my fire and make sure it ignites. I'm going to pause here for a moment to welcome all our viewers and listeners. We've got over 35 to 40 students live with us right now across Facebook and YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. If you're just joining us, if you joined us late, put something in the comments. Say hello. Give us a greeting. I'd love to engage with you. We've had a great conversation here today. People have been sharing. It's amazing about their sharing about their mentors and people who inspired them as young youth or adults. If you still want to share, I'd love to hear from you. If you have someone who mentored you or guided you, let's hear. Your stories are fascinating. And I get inspired to hear about who inspired you. So I'd love to hear more on those comments. I want to share with you a beautiful vort, insight I heard about this, of how to select, how to be selective. What happened when they tried to bury Yaakov Avinu? They tried to bury Yaakov in Ma'aras HaMachpelah in Hebron. You're familiar with the story. And Esav was there. And Esav stopped them. And Esau said, no, the burial place in Ma'arat HaMachpelah is mine. I deserve it. And because I'm the firstborn. But the sons of Yaakov said, hold on, Esav, you're not the firstborn. You sold your firstborn right. You gave the firstborn right to our father Yaakov, and therefore he deserves to be the one to be buried here. And so there was a fight. And Esav said, oh yeah, show me. Prove it to me that I sold the firstborn right. And what happened then? What happened then? So we know that Naphtali, who was known to be compared to a deer, decided to run back to Egypt. Fast pace. He decided to run back to Egypt to go fetch the documents, because that's where they were living at that time, to go fetch the documents that proved the sale, that showed that Esav sold the firstborn right to Yaakov. But standing there was the son of Dan, tribe of Dan, son of Dan. His name was Chushim. Chushim was there, and Chushim was deaf. And Chushim couldn't understand this. Here's his grandfather, Yaakov, sitting there, waiting for burial. Next to them is Esav, stopping the process. He didn't realize that they had sent Naphtali back to go fetch the documents. He got so fed up that he took a stick of some sorts and he hit Esav to the point that Esav's head came rolling off his body, and Esav died there and then. And that's where the tradition comes from, that Esav's body or head is buried in Marat Machpelah too, because his head rolled off his body. It's a bit of a gruesome story, but it happened. The Talmud tells us that Chushim killed Esav. And immediately they were able to bury Yaakov in Marat Machpelah. And the question is, why Bnei Dan, the son of Dan, Chushim? Where was Yehuda? Where was Shimon? Where was Levi? Where were the big knackers of society? How come they didn't stand up to Esav and ensure the burial of their grandfather, of their father, Yaakov Avinu? How come they relied on Chushim? You know the answer is, Chushim was deaf. He was deaf. He couldn't understand. And that's the tactic, the technique that our rabbis have taught us. On the one hand, we've got to be deaf. Don't let all the noise disrupt us. There's too much noise, medical noise and professional noise. And, there's so many people talking to us and we can't follow everyone. If we try to follow everyone, we're going to freeze. Like Shimon, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, all the brothers, they froze. You know why they froze? Because they were listening. There was too much going on. Esav was talking, and this was talking, and that was talking, and their minds became so unfocused. They weren't able to focus, to know what to do. Chushim was deaf. And when you're deaf, you block out the noise around you. And you do what you need to do. So tool number one is we got to quieten down the noise. There's so many people who have views, have opinions. Yeah, we can listen to those opinions. We can absorb those opinions, but that's about it. There's no way everyone's going to mold us. Everyone's going to, inspire me. It's impossible that everyone should mold me. Can't happen. On the other hand, I've got to be receptive and open to receiving and listening to and receiving mentoring from my mentor. And that may be a Rabbi Bloch in Randfontein, or maybe Rabbi Rudy in a Sidnam Shul Cheder, or maybe my grandmother or my father or Mrs. Chamberlain of grade 1, Chamberlain of grade 1. It could be anyone who you've shared with us today. On the one hand, block out the noise around you and don't be what we call nispoel. Don't be affected from all the noise. Be like Chushim, who's deaf, moves on, does what he needs to do. But have your mentor. Aseh lecha rav. Have your mentor, have your guide, who's there to guide you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to light your candle, light your flame, so that it lights on its own and you become independent. Any questions you'd like to share with us, I'd be happy to take them and to address them. So do so on the chat. We'll wait a moment or two. Feel free to share. was wonderful being here today. Thank you all for joining us. We've had a great conversation. I loved your responses and your interaction. So thank you. I see Stephen Hur, you've asked a few questions about Aaron HaKohen in the menorah. Yes, there were 7 branches on the menorah, Stephen, to answer your question. Otherwise, it was wonderful being here with you. I hope that you enjoyed. Other people can also watch this later. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Keep safe, keep sane, and keep spiritual. And we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube Live. All the best and a wonderful day ahead.